They enhance security through repeatable and measurable processes. They provide guidance. So they provide basically for each activity what the activity is, what it needs to be done. They provide software security development reviews, like, for example, code reviews or reviews before deploying the software. They are all articulated what you have to do as far as the activity, which kind of tactical resources you can use, for example, checklists, common vulnerability lists. They provision the use of automation tools. For example, in the case of CLASP, the categorization of vulnerability maps to the use of source code parsers that have been used by the methodology. They also, some activities suggest some roles and responsibilities, and also integrate with foundational development activities such as patch management, change management, other activities that company is using for developing software. From the perspective of security enhancing process model, there are several out there. The company that certainly has more experience in the field is Microsoft. You find a lot of resources out there about the trustworthy computer security development lifecycle. There's been actually a book recently published by Stephen Lipner and Michael Over about the DSDLC that I strongly recommend to read. CLASP stands for Comprehensive Lightweight Application Security Process. It's lightweight because it can be applied to any software development methodology. It's based upon best practices that apply to the CLASP lifecycle. The CLASP lifecycle is very comprehensive because it deals with software that from inception to operation. Very importantly, CLASP can also be iterated to wrap any methodology, evolutive software development methodology you may have. Important is also an open source project now because it's been given to HOVAS, so you can get all the resources. And that academic leader in the field is certainly Gary McGraw. He rationalized his input about the security from the standpoint of touch points. And touch points are really activities that can be built according to best practices in any software development lifecycle. A book also has been published this year, Secure Software, that was also down the hallway, so for purchase. The Software Engineering Institute also been expanding the team software process to include secure software development. So there's a lot of emphasis in this methodology about team review, principal review, and metrics and measurements. So you can get a lot of resources out there, and it's free. So how we can put all things together from the perspective of context. And this is a diagram based upon a similar diagram that we developed for one of our client engagements. And what it gives you all the context of the activities, the best practices. And on the top layer, you have the SDLC phases. They map to software security best practices. Software security best practices map to ongoing activities that can be performed throughout the life cycle, as metric and measurements, training awareness, for example. You can group software security activities from a standpoint of common objectives. And also, if you can identify with a crossbar the interface with other security practices that are being adopted by the organization. For example, if the organization has already a technical risk assessment, this one is going to interface with your threat model. So you provide the input of your threat profile in order to assess technical risks. And then once you identify this technical risk with the business input, business impact, you can also feed the information risk management, which are basically all the practices that are here on the bottom. The defect management, change management, they are not really practices of the SDLC, but somehow overlap with the SDLC practices. So with this, you can define the context from the perspective. I have already information risk management guideline that covers some aspects from the organization, the way we manage security in the organization. How I define the context between security risk management and information risk management. With this diagram, you can actually define the overlap of the competences. Very critical is integrating business risk and technical risk in order to define a strategy. This is a very loosely concept because when we do threat modeling, what we tackle are technical risk. It's a risk basically to have software failure. We don't We don't evaluate the value of the asset. We just evaluate the data. So, so if you have a very clearly defined information risk management, take into account the business impact from a standpoint of evaluating the assets, and also takes in consideration these technical risk factors from a standpoint of evaluating the data and finding the technical impacts. When you put all this business impact and technical impact together, you can lay it out a risk remediation strategy. You can finally make the case for how much does it cost to fix my vulnerability versus how much is the cost of exploitation of the vulnerability. And this comes by translating technical risk to business risk, and then also comes from prioritizing, according to the business impact, your countermeasures. So in summary, make the business case not based on FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but based on realistic data. Data on cost that can be talked to the project manager, address the problems as early as possible in SDLC. Use a metric for cost-benefit analysis integrated in risk management, and this is the return of security investment. There are different formulas out there. The one that found the best from our perspective is the one defined from the Microsoft Information Risk Management Guideline. Adopt a formal process to build security in SDLC based upon two approaches. You can build your own framework based on your best practices, or you can adopt a security enhanced model, and there are out there several that you can use. Importantly, have a plan for the implementation. Don't shoot for the star right away. Assess, implement, and verify step by step. Have a tactical plan of activities where you can show the benefit and the business case in immediate time, and then have a strategic plan for what you can do next. Integrate the software security, information security risks in order to make a strategic decision about how to remediate the overall risks. So take into account the business impact as well as technical impact. And again, you have to integrate with the risk management procedure and guidelines that you have already in place. Can be CRAM, can be Octave, depends on the organization. Then finally, review the business case and commit to it. When you have a way to measure and to assess and measure your risks, then you have a way to evaluate and make informed decisions. Importantly, commit at different level of the organization. You can wait like Bill Gates did with the initiative of the memo from the top down to have the SDLC implemented, but it's better off if you get perhaps support at different level from the decision makers of the organizations, and then you follow up through different competencies on the business side and the technical side. Without commitment, people, technology, and processes, there is no basically SDLC. And I'm here for your questions. Yes? Well, there are not so many other frameworks out there. Certainly, Microsoft has been revising the most recent threat modeling methodology, and I would say that's the one to go for. There's been a new actually tool also being developed from ASI, Torpedo. They address this new methodology, and this methodology probably is still the leader. There are other methodologies like TRIKE, I think. The European community also come out with another framework about the threat modeling, but pretty much there's not so much out there as far as the threat modeling framework. Yes. Well, I mean, from the framework of evaluating threat models to actually categorize risks, Stride and Thread are still there, but in the new methodology, I think there is also evaluation of CIA. Means like confidentiality, integrity, and authentication. So we are going towards a pluggable model for risk, which is not just Stride and Thread. Dread for categorization of risk, and Strive for categorization of threats. Okay, if you don't have other questions, we have other links that you can actually look for at Foundstone for the practice of software application security services. I didn't put here the link on the Department of Homeland Security. There's a lot of resources there. And thank you very much for listening despite the hours.